Have you ever wondered what a day in the yard of a country house could turn into a tale of courage and heroism? It will be moved to tears. Looks like something out of a movie, but this is a real story, one that seems impossible to happen, but it shows the strength, loyalty, and bravery to dogs. It all started in the morning, a seemingly ordinary, with the sun lighting up gently with the calm setting, where the two children were playing carefree, surrounded by nature, and by the sound of the laughter of an innocent person. The family dog, a dog's coat, soft and attentive look. She watched it all from afar, as if he was praying for the well-being of those little ones. At that moment, everything seemed to be perfect. It's a routine that's simple and to the Pacific, where the greatest danger was in the game without any limitations. But, like life, is often a surprise to you, that peace has been abruptly interrupted by the sound of strange and scary. A wild boar, a hungry and aggressive look into the backyard, bringing chaos and terror to all of you. You can't imagine the end of the day the kids to understand this figure, the huge and menacing before them, the feeling of inadequacy, a fear of something worse to happen. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's certainly changing the hearts of those who were watching closely. And in that moment, everything is turned into a real race against the clock. Stay with me until the end to find out how that dog, that had seemed so small in the face of so much strength in the wild, has taken up the position of a hero to face the enemy in the most dangerous, so to protect those in the two lives of helpless. Have you ever gone through a situation where you needed to act quickly, without thinking twice? Get the feeling of something that's bigger than you, it is happening, and what you need to do your part to help change the outcome in the end. Well, this is a story that is exactly like this. What are you going to find out now? You will be surprised, because of what happened that day is much more than a simple feud between the animal and the animal kingdom. It is a lesson of courage, faith, and unconditional love, because it shows that sometimes the real power lies in the courage of those who do their best to protect those he loves. Get ready to meet a real hero in all four of its legs, whose bravery will get you in the groove to further enhance the loyalty of our faithful companions. And who knows, in the end, you will also feel motivated to recognize and celebrate those little big heroes, even with their simplicity, have the power to change someone's life with a single act of courage. As the story unfolds, we realize how small acts of courage can make a world of difference, not only in the life of a hero from 4 feet, but also to those around you. It's amazing to think that too often an attitude that's as simple as a protection to them, silent, or a show of loyalty, unconditional, you can play deep into the hearts of those who experience these moments. And it's just such a genuine connection that makes us think about the value of our furry friends. They tell us day after day, loyalty, courage, and true love. If you are following up to this. If you identify with this story, or it was moved by the bravery of this friend, how about sharing your own experience? It can also be a special remembrance of a time when you, your pet, it helps you to overcome, or lesson that you have learned from it. Your feedback is very important to us, as it helps to create a stronger community and awe-inspiring. In addition to this, if you think this content is worth to reach out to more people, please do not hesitate to like the video. Every like makes a big difference in the dissemination and development of this message is one of hope and wonder. And of course, if you want to continue with stories like this, subscribe to the channel. This is the best step. So, you can stay up to date with all of our content, participating in discussions, and help us to spread this positive energy. Your being here is what makes that space to grow and to reach more people and promote a network of love and gratitude for our heroes to all 4 of its legs. Let's go on this journey together, constantly learning and celebrate the unconditional love they give us. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in this connection that it reveals a clearer and more powerful. When we begin to understand that our pets are more than companions, as usual, we realize that there is a real transformation is happening inside of us. This transformation is related to the way how we see the world and the decisions we make and the impact that our actions have on the lives of those beings who, too often, they seem to teach us lessons that no other words can express. It's as if, when you open to this understanding, a new reality is revealed, one that goes above and beyond what the eye can see. The truth is, hidden behind this relationship is that quite often, we're so trapped in our own limitations, our insecurities, or even to our own routines, fast-paced, that we do not even even realize how much these little creatures have the capability of showing us what really matters to you. And in the process, they have become a mirror, reflecting our deepest emotions, our fears, our joys, and it's also our strength. This is a journey of discovery that is, in fact, an opportunity for growth, for development, and strengthening of a connection that goes beyond any logical sense. When you dive in the universe of possibility, you start to realize that every decision that we make in relation to their well-being has a direct impact on the quality of our own, a transformation. The choice to devote the time, care, and attention is what really makes the difference. It's not just to take care of you physically, but to engage in a conscious way to understand the signals they are sending to learn how to listen to the language of silence, which they use to communicate their feelings and emotions. This is where everything is more intense, more real, more meaningful, and in doing so, we begin to realize that we too are invited to think on our own priorities and to focus attention on the present, to slow down and enjoy each and every moment of the most genuine form. These revelations often come in behind the scenes that may not always be in the sight of the details that go unnoticed in your hectic routine, but one that carries a positive force for change. It may be a look for what goes through your soul, a word of caution that it shows a love that is unconditional, or even just a simple swap of the silence that communicates more than just words could express. And then, when you realize all of this, a new sense of awareness is established, that in order to offer you the best, for they are special, we are also investing in our own happiness, our own ability to love without boundaries, being more human. This is a journey of discovery, is a standing invitation for reflection, a chance to open your eyes to the true priorities of your life. It is in this movement that we find the essence of our connection with them, and at the same time, and the universe that surrounds us. We understand that each and every action, however small it may seem, it has the power to create a powerful impact that reverberates in our history and the history of those who are next to us, to teach us the real value of empathy, respect, and love for yourself. And as it does so, it is the feeling that there is still much to be discovered, many of the scenes hidden, waiting to be uncovered. It's like a door opens up slowly to a whole world of possibilities, where each and every moment is an opportunity to transform, connect, and discover a deeper truth. And in this way, we realize that the greatest gift we can give our full attention to our presence, truth, and to make sure that, when you take care of them, we are also taking care of our own selves. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the real transformation, is precisely those details that often go unnoticed, as they are small actions or choices in the day-to-day. In sum, they have a huge impact on our journey. It is then that we realize that change is not something outside of you, something that comes from the outside to the inside, but a process, a silent revolution that is happening in our minds, in our hearts, in our way of looking at the world around us. When you begin to pay attention to this internal motion, everything changes in a way that's more authentic, more genuine, because he starts to come to a conscious decision to want to evolve and open up to new possibilities, and to question the things that have always been considered to be the absolute truth. At this point, we begin to understand that many of our limitations and the obstacles seem insurmountable. They are, in fact, the beliefs held that we've created over the years, sometimes without even realizing it, and you only need a closer look, the courage to challenge these thoughts. It's as if you're carrying a backpack full of stones, each one representing a fear, a doubt, a belief in limitation. And, as we will releasing the weight, is getting lighter, more free to explore what really matters to you. It's a real journey, that of liberation, and where self-awareness is the most reliable one. It is powerful because it shows the connection between the way we think, feel, and act. When we begin to understand this relationship, it is clear that the change is not dependent on external factors, such as for perfect or ideal circumstances. She was born in us in our decision to change what is within our reach. And in doing so, we got a course, new opportunities, new people, new learning. It's a cycle that feeds on the courage to face up to the truth it hides behind our own actions. Many times, this is the truth. This is uncomfortable because it requires that we let go of what's comfortable, and that it is strengthened, and the embrace of the unknown, the uncertain, the one that challenges our comfort zone. For this reason, it is important that we cultivate an open-minded to accept as a part of the process of evolution, and we believe believe each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it has a direct impact on the quality of our journey of transformation. It is not about seeking perfection, but to be present, to learn how to listen to yourself with full attention. When you can't do that, you start to see behind the scenes of our own history, and the reasons that lead us to act in a certain way, and the emotions that are behind the choice. And in that moment, it all becomes clear to the core. That's more pure, more true, and often it is hidden away under layers of fear, doubt, and the conditions. It is at this point that we realize that true change is not a finish line, but it's a continuous discovery of who we really are, in addition to the masks that we wear to protect ourselves. And then, when you open yourself up to the journey of self-discovery, I'm beginning to understand that with every step, no matter how simple it may seem, it has the power to impact the whole of human history. It's a transformation that happens from the inside to the outside, which leads to a much deeper connection with life, with other people, and, above all, to ourselves. And in the process, we learn that it's the greatest revelation. It is the courage to be true. If you allow yourself to feel it, to accept it, even in the face of the unknown, there is an inner strength that is able to guide you towards what really matters to you. By the end of this understanding, we show the impact of our transformation of the echo, plus we are touching lives, changing circumstances, creating a string garden. And when you understand it, it is easy to understand that the journey is a daily choice that requires commitment, patience, and above all, self-love. After all, when you take care of us with love and care, we are also taking care of the world around us. For that is the true essence of transformation, a movement of a connection that starts from within, and if it spreads to all that is around us. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this point that the majority of people is a sort of invisible wall, a barrier, and it seems to prevent the spread of true. And this is a barrier to many times, and it is not something external, but it's something that you carry inside of us, misgivings, fears, and limiting beliefs that have been shaped over the years, and in that sense, they dictate our decisions. The stories that we tell ourselves to create a sort of boundary is invisible, and the more we try to change it, it feels like we're stuck in a script that's already been written a long time ago. It is as if, behind all of the strength of will, and there's a quiet voice that urges us to remember that we can't or we're not capable of. The truth hides behind all this is that the vast majority of our impact on the life is dependent on a change in our way of thinking. It's not just about the actions and strategies of the outside, but on the understanding that it all starts in the mind, in the way that we perceive the world and ourselves. When we started to question these beliefs, deep-seated, to break down the concepts that we are limited, we opened up the space for a new narrative, a story of which we are the protagonists, are able to create real change. This is a journey of self-discovery, reveals a lot of stunning revelations as to how much we are influenced by the patterns, you don't even realize it, or by the expectations that have been imposed on at an early age. And this is where it comes to the importance of the impact of the transformation of the mental triggers in your life. Every decision, every step we take with this new understanding, it's a chance to reconnect with our true essence. In the process, we found out that prevents a lot of the time, it is not a question of luck, skill, or set of circumstances, but a matter of the alignment procedure. When we turn against ourselves, everything around us begin to fit it all in a way that's more natural, more fluid. However, these changes did not occur in the day to night. It requires persistence, the courage to face your own shadows, and above all, a genuine desire to improve. It is at this point that it is revealed in a behind the scenes the most fascinating in the day, the realization that each and every small decision-making, each and every day-to-day struggle to keep the mind in a most positive and resilient, build a new life. And at the same time, it becomes a bridge that connects to our stock of the impact that we want to generate in the world. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. Because of this, the connection between the transformation of the internal and external impact is something that a lot of people don't manage to see it clearly. We think that a change needs to be great, but in reality, it is constructed in detail in the daily choices we make. And then, when that is understood, we realize that the real power lies in the consistency, the ability to stay focused even in the face of difficulties. It is this constant movement of self-discovery and made a conscious decision that turns out to be the secret of the journey for those who really want to change your life from the inside out. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that's the true transformation transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is a compass, a routine that's getting stronger every little decision, every effort in daily life, which do the same when the motivation seems in short supply. Many people believe that in order to change it, you need the big gestures and a dramatic change from the go to turn up the game at one time or another. But the reality is quite different. The real exchange rate is constructed in the details, in her quiet gestures, as they can be added together to create a new narrative for your life. These are the small daily adjustments that, over time, to create a chain of impact that has made all the difference. And it's at that point that comes to the matter of the mind, because it all begins with the way we have to understand that it is possible or not. If you believe the change depends on external factors or circumstances that are beyond our control, and we are caught in a kind of self-deception. But when we understand that the power is in our hands, in our choices, in our course, everything has changed. This understanding opens the door to a journey into the most knowingly, where every decision, however small it may seem, it has a huge weight in the construction of the future of our world. It's as if every step was a piece of a puzzle that, in the end, it reveals a new picture of who you really are. Over the course of the journey, we also found that the strength is not the only motivation in a given moment, but on the ability to maintain a firm commitment to our goals, even when the excitement diminishes. Because the reality is too often presents us with unexpected obstacles, doubts that may arise out of nothing, and moments of weakness. They seem like they are trying to convince us that giving up would be easier. But it's the true transformation requires strength. She asks that we stay strong. We face the periods of political instability with a growth mindset. It is in this movement that we realize that each and every loss is an opportunity to learn, and that's the silence of the daily struggle, is that it builds on the solid foundation of your success. In this context, a look behind the scenes of the change and reveal the secret is not to seek perfection, but to develop the self-discipline. After all, one does not become a new person for the one day to the next, and you don't need. It's all about patience, the courage to continue, even when the evidence seems to indicate that the path is too difficult for you. Truly, these times of trouble are the ones that teach us, the ones who really shape our inner power and strength, and lead to a more in-depth understanding of their limitations and strengths. And at the same time, we show that this transformation is a journey of self-discovery, where each step reveals a new layer of who we are, in fact. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because a lot of the times we believe that change is out of our reach, and that it depends on many factors which are outside our control. But in essence, it all comes down to our decision-making. They are the most powerful tools we have to create a new reality. And when you realize this, we also see that for each choice, as small as it may seem to you, it's like a seed planted in the direction of living a life more aligned with our values and our dreams, the more profound. The beauty of this trek is just that, the power to change our story from the small actions that, taken together, they create an internal revolution can impact everything around you. In addition to the shares, such a transformation requires a shift in mindset, a thorough review over what we believe and how far we can get. Too often we carry the limitations that you don't even notice it, and the stories we tell ourselves that keep us from moving forward. In these stories, most of the time, they are built up over time through his past experiences, for the opinions of any third party, for the fears that feed it, without realizing it. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to break away from them. It is important to understand that true freedom is the ability to rewrite that narrative, of which a new story for yourself in a story of courage, perseverance, and self-confidence. It is at this point that we realize that the transformation is not a matter of luck or circumstance, but above all, of the decision. And then, to deepen this understanding, we find that the impact of that journey is to go beyond ourselves. When we change our energy, it spreads, that influences the people around us, creates a ripple effect of inspiration. In the end, the true transformation is not an isolated act. It is a manifestation of some higher purpose, a connection with something that goes beyond the individual. It's as if, when we become better versions of ourselves, we are also contributing to a change in the environment, on society, on the world. Each step is a conscious decision-making that is aligned with our core values, is a key element in the mosaic of the possibilities of what we can create when we decide to act in a way that's intentional. This is a journey, so it requires more than force of will. It requires a growth mindset, mindset, a commitment to apprentice, and the constant attention to the scenes, the detail, the small improvements that often go unnoticed. It's a construction site daily. Listening closely to our lives, it is willing to teach you at that time. And at the same time, it is a courage to look within, to accept our own vulnerability, our own imperfections, and then use it as fuel to move forward. Because after all, the greatest revelation of this path is that the real power lies in the authenticity and the courage to be who you really are, even if it means challenging the status quo or face your own fears. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject because it's just that time of the delivery where the true transformation, when we come to understand and accept our vulnerability, is not a sign of weakness, but an act of courage. It changes everything. It's like opening a door that had been closed for a long time. Hiding from a universe of possibilities is that it will only show up when we stop fighting with ourselves. This is a journey of self-discovery. It is, in essence, a journey of freedom, where each and every doubt, every fear, every imperfection, it becomes a very important part in the construction of a new narrative. And this is a narrative that is not made from the skins or the versions on the surface, but from the core of the most pure, the one who often gets hidden behind the trials, the charges external to us. In the process of discovery, we see the truth hidden behind a lot of locks. It's just the fear of being seen as rejected or bad. But in practice, that's all that is stopping us from moving forward, is not in the outside world, but our own internal resistance. When you begin to question those beliefs, barriers, and we believe that they are like shadows, you only gain strength because we're addressing them. And there you have the courage to face these shadows. It becomes the single most important step to change. It is at this point that authenticity is no longer an abstract idea, and it becomes a principle for living, which influences each and every decision, every action, every thought. With this revelation, the real strength lies in vulnerability, which has a direct impact on the way we think about the challenges of everyday life. Because when you have to accept that we are not perfect, and we have learned to appreciate the process and not just the end result. For each block, each of the errors, it will be an opportunity for growth, and that's not the end of everything. This is a change of mindset in fact, it is a transformation from the inside to the outside, which is reflected in the way in which we relate to the people in our dreams, and even your own. With the understanding that it is all part of a journey of self-discovery gives us immense freedom to explore your limits without fear of appearing vulnerable. It is in this context that we come up with the revelations of the deepest, which often remain hidden behind our own deep-seated beliefs. The revelations that, when understood, can transform our view of the world. As if a curtain was lifted to reveal a new perspective, the impact of authenticity, and is able to break down the old limitations. Each step in this direction, it requires a conscious decision to move on, even though the path is still uncertain, even afraid to keep it there, lurking. Because deep down, that the courage to be who you truly are is what makes us unique and able to have an impact on the world in a way that no one else can do it. And when you realize this, we become more aware of our own choices, about our intentions are sincere, the small actions that, when added together, you have the power to create a real revolution in the house. This is a journey of self-transformation, also shows behind the scenes that often remain invisible to those who can only watch from the outside. They are the internal battles, all the questions that you insist to persist, in the moments of silence in which the mind tries to convince you that you're not able to. But at the same time, there is a quiet strength that pulses within us, a desire to reconnect with the essence of pure, in that it does not rely on external approval. You are not measured by the success of current, but that was the consistency of who you choose to be the real thing. It's like a seed that, when planted in the soil, deep in the heart, that it grows very slowly and face the storms, but always looking for the light. And in this light it is, in fact, the truth is, we are who we are, with our faults, our strengths, and our own stories to tell. When you think about all of this, it is clear that the greatest revelation of our time together is that true freedom is born from the inside out. It's a daily choice to look at yourself honestly, to accept that there are more genuine, and, from there, to build a new life. In a situation where the decisions are not guided by fear, but by a desire to live with authenticity and purpose. In this process, we find that the impact we can have on the world, starting in the U.S., the courage to be transparent and to embrace our vulnerabilities and how to transform transform each challenge into an opportunity for growth. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that the journey to the transformation is first and foremost a journey of self-love, understanding, and respect for who you truly are, without masks or with false expectations. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in this moment of reflection that not many people realize that it's the true transformation is not something that is external to a change in the surface, which is limited to the face or as to the results to be visible. In fact, it happens in-house, in the very heart of who we are, in our ability to rewrite the stories that too often bear the wounds of old questions, deep and fears that seem to be insurmountable. This is a journey of self-knowledge, courage, yes, but it's also a provision to question what we were taught as absolute truth, to challenge the limits of what we think, and to realize that many of the times, these limitations are most deeply rooted in our mind than in reality. As we move forward in this way, we can begin to see the impact of our daily decisions have on our growth. For each choice, as small as it may seem, bears the potential to transform our way of thinking, and as a result, our lives. And it is interesting to understand how these small actions are made with the intent to create a ripple effect that influences our emotions, our relationships, and our way of thinking and the challenges of. All of this reveals the true hidden. The power to change lies within us and in our willingness to take responsibility for every step you take, no matter how difficult it may be, and to embrace vulnerability as a tool of strength, not a weakness. This understanding leads to a kind of awakening. A revelation is silent, which is often ignored in the first place, because in the rush of day to day, we are bound to superficialidades, to the opinions of others, the expectations of external stakeholders. But when you stop to think about it, we realize that the true power is born of authenticity, and accept who we are, in fact, with all of our flaws and shortcomings. And in so doing, we can begin to understand that the journey of transformation is, in essence, a matter of choices, of a change of mind that enables us to see beyond what our eyes can pick up on the surface. It is a transformation that affects not only our lives, but also the impact that it can have on the world around us. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this change in perspective leads us to ask what really matters to you. Many times we are so focused on achieving results that we forget what the real impact comes from the alignment of the internal clarity about our values and commitment to living in accordance with them. It is here that we begin to understand that the key is consistency in the course of having a growth mindset, even in the face of difficulties. Because deep down, this is the mentality that supports us and gives us the strength to continue even when things seem to fall apart, and it can teach us to see the adversity as an opportunity disguised as obstacles. Along the way, we also found that the transformation is not a final destination, but a journey of continuous development. Each step, each decision, each of the reflection on the inside brings us closer to our true potential. And such a journey is possible only when we learn to quiet the voice of judgment, when we fail to be our own biggest critics and we go to be our greatest allies. This is a change of attitude. It generates a profound effect on our self-worth and our ability to love and accept ourselves and how we relate to each other. After all, when we are at peace with ourselves, do we pass the peace to the world around us, maintaining a chain of good deeds, empathy, and connection? It is true. As you go deeper in understanding this, we see that it is the secret of transformation is in the courage to face that which makes us uncomfortable in order to learn from our own mistakes, and the desire to always be in front of you, even when your path seemed too hard to do. It is this constant movement of self-discovery that we find the true essence of change, one that does not depend on the external conditions, but it is a wake-up built-in, drives us to be better versions of ourselves each and every day. And in the process, each and every small victory, it becomes a test of our strength within is able to overcome any challenge, no matter how big we are. And so the journey continues, with its revelations and discoveries are always sticking to a single purpose in mind, to live fully, consciously, and in line with our intention to be true. Because after all, the greatest change happens when you learn to love yourself, to understand what are the main protagonists of our story, and that each and every decision that we make, it writes a new chapter in the story of evolution. And it is precisely at this point that you realize just how much our way of of thinking, our choices, and our actions have an impact on the world, changing not only our career, but also the way in which we can inspire anyone who is on our side. Now, I want to leave the story up in the air, because it is the foundation of all that is ahead of you. The truth is, when you look into and understand the power we have to transform our own lives, we can begin to see the impact we can have on those around us. This is a real advantage in the change. It begins on the person, but it never ends there. In the end, each step is in the direction of self-love and authenticity. It is a seed that we plant for the future, more self-aware, more light, and full of possibilities. And in this moment of awakening, it is clear that the journey of transformation, this is an adventure that is worth every effort, every tear, every moment of doubt, because it takes you exactly to the place where we always wanted to come, to a better me, in harmony with the world around us. He comments that it makes no sense to me. And then, as the day progresses, we begin to realize that all the things that seemed so very far away or difficult in our minds, in fact, he was right there, right within reach, hidden under the layers of insecurity and fear. It is as if, for a long time, we have become accustomed to living in a smaller version of himself, one that he accepted limits, and it was thought that he had not the strength to break through their own barriers. But in reality, the strength was always inside of us, waiting for just the right time for you to be awake. And then this moment comes, when we decided to look into it with courage and candor, and that you accept the change. It's a decision and a daily choice to reaffirm your commitment to who we really are. To make the connection more deeply with our inner selves, we can begin to understand that our choices, however small they may seem, they have a giant impact on our journey. For each choice, to love more, to put on in the first place, focus on the what really matters to you, it functions like a lever that propels you on our progress. It is as if each and every step of the authenticity of it was a piece of a puzzle that fit together to reveal a larger image, more clear, more real. And this is the image that is from our full potential, and one which is often hidden in the back of the old patterns, limiting beliefs, or the opinions of others that were imposed in the years to come. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because often the biggest obstacle in our transformation is not external, but internal. They are the voices that insist on telling you that you're not able to, they don't deserve it, that's not going to be able to. These opinions, which for the most part they come from the experiences of the past, or of the people who have influenced you in any way, they create a kind of invisible wall that prevents us from moving forward. And it's the most curious thing is that, for the most part, you don't even realize that we have been feeding this to the wall, with our thoughts or our questions listed. It is as if, without realizing it, we're sabotaging your own growth, and to leave these long-held beliefs to take the weight of that truth today. In this sense, the transformation requires a special attention to our way of thinking. It is necessary to explore this land of procedure, to explore the roots of this limitations, and it really rethinking of the what is stopping us from being free to be who we want to be. The key is to recognize that in these voices, these thoughts are not our lives, but the stories that we have learned to accept them as absolute truths, and that in fact, they can be deconstructed from a whole new perspective. If you are unable to make the listener aware of, and to question those beliefs and replace it with the old narratives of new and the impact on our lives, it's instant. It's as if the light will begin to shine a light on the darkest corners of our soul, revealing the possibilities of it before seemed to be moving. From then on, everything changes. The courage to show you, the authentic turn it up, and with a desire to live in accordance with their own beliefs and become stronger. After all, it's the true transformation is not just about a change in behavior or appearance, but rather a revolution in our way of thinking, our way of looking at the world and ourselves. And this is the revolution, many of the times, gives a behind-the-scenes, into the small action a day-to-day, at the choice of words, the most gracious, the decision of whether or not put up in the first place that is free of guilt or fear. It is these small internal revolutions which, when added together, they create an abrupt and long-lasting, it is a real metamorphosis, which leads to a state of greater connection with our inner selves. And if you notice that a new perspective is beginning to emerge, is a sense of freedom once seemed out of reach. It's like all of a sudden all of this was possible, because we have learned that the biggest obstacle has always been on our minds. And now, with this understanding, it is easier to break free from old restraints and embrace the journey that brings us to our best. best, I will be more lightly on the planet, more authenticity, and more self-love. The transformation is no longer a task, is far away or unattainable dream, and it becomes a natural process, an evolution that takes place. Each made a conscious decision to be true to who you really are. And it's that authenticity that you have found the true impact of, the one that echoes not only in our own lives, but in the way that we touch and the world around us. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic and to explore how this journey of transformation, which often seems to be so simple in theory, but in practice reveals itself as the real battle is on the inside. It is not uncommon to see that even if we want to change our own mind, oftentimes it becomes a self-imposed glass ceiling, is a sort of wall that he insists on keeping us in a comfort zone, the more he or she is away from us as well. This resistance comes from a fear of the unknown, the fear of losing what we have accomplished, or even the fear of being judged for who we are, in fact. And that's what one of the greatest truths that are hidden in this processing. It does not just happen on the surface. It does require that we take a deep dive into, to experience all the emotions that you would rather avoid, and you can challenge the beliefs that we often don't even realize that we have. Over the course of the journey, we begin to realize that authenticity is a kind of light that shines on our path. Even when the path seems dark or in the air, this is the light coming from within, out of a conscious decision to abandon the masks, and if you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to accept the imperfections are a part of who we are. At this point, the transformation is still a long way off, and it becomes a daily practice, a series of small decisions that add up to create a silent revolution in the way we think, feel, and act. It is important to understand that change is not linear. It comes with its ups and downs, moments of clarity, and the others are not sure. And that's okay, because every step you take, even if it appears to be a rebound, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. And here comes one point that is often missed: the impact of small choices on a daily basis. Making a simple decision, such as choosing to be kind in a difficult situation, or you can choose to listen more than talk. It may not seem like much at the time, but in fact, it is like a seed that is planted in a consistent. It germinates into a far-reaching transformation. That, too often, they seem tiny, but it has a ripple effect that reverberates in our self-esteem and in our connection with each other and our relationship to the world. And it is precisely at this level of detail, which is the real difference, is that it comes from the daily commitment to be loyal to the core. Even when it's all around, it suggests the opposite. This day also shows behind the scenes that few realize: the battle of the silent against the self, the strength to accept the fact that making mistakes is a part of the process, and the courage to start over again as many times as you need. With each failed attempt, each and every question that arises, and this is an opportunity to build our inner strength. And at the same time, we show that the transformation is not a final destination, but it's a constant evolution, a kind of dance between who we are today and who we will become tomorrow. In it, we learn to trust our intuition, to hear what your heart really has to say, and to understand that every change is born out of a sincere desire to connect with their own truth, without a mask or justify them. The truth is hidden in this journey is that when we allow ourselves to be who we really are, we can begin to have an impact on the world in a different way, a more genuine. Our actions are no longer to be a mere routine, and if you make them the manifestations of the essence of the authentic, which is the inspiration of the people around you. It is here that the impact extends across the borders unseen, by touching the lives and making a string of changes that are often beyond our imaginations. All of this happens because in order to change our mindset, we are, in fact, opened the door to a new way of looking at the world, a perspective that values the truth and the courage and authenticity above all else. The journey, therefore, it is a history of the discovery and the constant revelations that challenge our comfort zone, and we invite you to evolve beyond what we thought possible. Each made a conscious decision, each step taken in the direction of the truth. It is a critical piece in the puzzle that makes up who we are to the truth. And when you understand it, you realize that it's the true transformation is not on arrival, but on the courage to follow on the journey, always seeking to align our actions with what we believe to be the essence of pure. It is in this movement that we find the true impact of the one that echoes in our lives, and those who cross our path, leaving a deep mark and a lasting impression on the history of what we're building. He comments that it makes no sense to me. And so, at the end of the day, it is the feeling that everything that you face, it was worth it, isn't it? We go through times of doubt, of uncertainty, but it is precisely in these moments that we find the opportunity to reconnect with what really matters to you. And if you made it this far, I'm pretty sure that that message that made sense to you, what you are looking for something deeper and genuine in his career. This content has touched you in some way. It is useful to leave a like in a natural way, without any pressure, just by recognizing the value of this dialogue is created. After all, it is this connection that we created in the course of the video, which is what makes it all worth it, right? And if you still haven't subscribed to the channel, here is my suggestion. For each video, we share ideas, learn together, and grow closer. So why not be part of a community that appreciates the value of the content it really adds? And of course, I want to invite you to leave a comment below to tell us that it came up to the very end. It can be something as simple as, "I'm with you till the end," or "It was for me." Therefore, we are unable to replace that energy you know that you've shared with, made any sense to anyone who follows our work with love. To continue the conversation and learn more on these topics, there's a video right here on the side that complements a lot of what we discussed. Click there and still am there. It is because the very best is always to come, and I want to be with you in every step of this journey. Thanks for being with me this far, and see you next time.